we've been seeing for the longest time. We've been seeing for the last couple years, I would say, right? We've been seeing people from the diaspora, in particular, the Caribbean, and then even more so, in particular, in New York, they've tried to crowbar and tether themselves to Juneteenth. And this is problematic. This is something that needs to be addressed. This is disrespectful, okay? And even if they don't mean it to be, it is, okay? And we have to get to a point where we're mature enough to say, just because you don't mean to be disrespectful does not mean that you are not being disrespectful, okay? This is disrespectful to our lineage, okay? It's crowbarring. It's not only disrespectful to our lineage, it's also disrespectful to their own lineage. They have their own holidays. They have their own lineage. They have their own culture and everything. And they should embrace that, and not every time they see another culture that's popping, try to crowbar themselves to our culture. That's not necessary. Okay. And the biggest issue with this problem, with this right here, is that you don't see this the other way around. Now, about a week or so ago, there was a Haitian Flag Day. Okay. There was a lot of Haitians out in New York, especially New York. I think mainly New York. There was a lot of Haitians out, and they had food, and it was a parade, and it was all of this stuff celebrating Haitian heritage. And then there were some people who made some jokes about how Black Americans, particularly foundational Black Americans, are not allowed in Haitian to Haitian Flag Day parades or Haitian Flag Day events or whatever the case is, right? And we've seen this with the Caribbean. We've seen this with Haitian Flag Day. We've also seen this with what else have we seen this with? We also seen this with let me see, Carnival. We've seen stuff like that with Haitian Flag Day and Carnival and stuff like that, how people make subtle videos about how we are not invited to Haitian Flag Day, how we are not allowed in Carnival, how do not invite us, we are not Caribbean, okay? Every time they have a holiday, every time they have an achievement, every time they have a celebration, they emphasize and they remind us how we are not Caribbean and we should not be invited there. I'm gonna make it work a little bit better because you guys a lot of people can't really see the title. So let me see. Okay. It's a little bit better, right? And my thing is this, why can't it be where our culture and our heritage and our holiday is respected, and they not try to really steal and cosplay, talking about celebrating Juneteenth Caribbean heritage? What does the Caribbean heritage have to do with Juneteenth? And I'm genuinely asking, so we can have a mature conversation about this. What does what does Caribbean heritage have to do with Juneteenth? Absolutely nothing. It's historically not true. Juneteenth is about America and slavery that happened in America. Juneteenth has absolutely nothing to do with the Caribbean. They had their own thing going on. That's like me saying, let me bring you guys can't see it because I got the green screen on. Let me bring my Black American heritage flag to the to the Haitian Flag Day parade. If I was to bring my Black American heritage flag to the Juneteenth thing, they would find that disrespectful. Okay? Even though, if we're going to be honest, they're in America, but okay. But even still with that, they would find that disrespectful. And that's just us bringing a flag to their thing. That's not us trying to take their holiday and then remix it to fix our culture. Let me ask you guys this question. Who else does this happen to? Besides us, besides FBA, who else does this happen to? Because when Hispanics, when you got Cinco de Mayo and other Hispanic holidays, when they be doing that, nobody tries to take their holiday and then remix their holiday and make it something different to fit their culture. When Asians have a certain holiday, when it's like Chinese New Year or something like that, nobody tries to take Chinese New Year and they try to talk about their culture's crowbaring or their mixture in Chinese New Year. Nobody tries to do that. Not when it's Hispanics, not when it's Asians. They didn't do that with Irish holidays. They don't do that with St. Patrick's Day, where they try to take St. Patrick's Day and then they try to remix it to fit their culture. Not with the 4th of July. They don't try to do that with the 4th of July. I'm honestly giving you different cultural holidays that this never happens to. This absolutely never happens to anybody else's culture. It's only our culture that people see our culture and then they say, okay, well, let me just erase the Black American part of it. I like the culture. I like the style. I like it. I'm going to steal the swag. I'm going to take that and then I'm going to just erase the Black American part and then I'm going to put my own culture in there, or I'm going to try to add my culture into that and make it seem like it's something. That is not. That's disrespectful. A lot of people suffered for this to be a thing, for Juneteenth to be a thing. Okay? Let's be very honest. Even though it's celebrated now, it's not something that was always celebrated. It did take a time for everybody to come around to looking at the holiday as a celebratory holiday. Because not too many years ago, I remember, Leo is in here. Shout out to Leo. How you doing, brother? I remember when people looked at Juneteenth like, hey, Juneteenth is like, when you think of Juneteenth, you get re-traumatized. And I remember a lot of people seeing it as Juneteenth is not a happy holiday. And there was a lot of debate. I don't know if you guys remember when they federalized Juneteenth. I remember there was a lot of discourse around, should we even celebrate it? Okay. So Juneteenth is not like it's a very historical event. It's a very historical holiday that only pertains to us here. All of these people, and this isn't even to be disrespectful. This is just to tell the truth. These people here came after these people here came after Juneteenth, okay? And not even soon after. I'm talking about these people came several decades after Juneteenth. These people didn't even come within the last 20 years after Juneteenth was a thing. And now they're sitting up there trying to say, okay, well, we're celebrating Juneteenth Caribbean heritage. How? Just explain this to me, how? And then explain to me how when Haitian, because this is in New York, okay, how when Haitians had the Haitian Flag Day, how it wasn't, let's talk about the Black American heritage in Haitian Flag Day. Can somebody explain that? Why was that not discussed? The Black American heritage in Haitian Flag Day. And this is what a lot of people have issues with when it comes to Pan-Africanism. Because when it comes to stuff like this, it's all like we got to share our stuff. Black America has to share our culture. We have to share our holidays. We have to share. And when I say share, I don't mean you guys just get to come to the festival. You guys get to come to the cookout or whatever the case may be. I mean, literally, we have to act like this is all of our holidays equally. It's not our holiday that you guys are partaking in the festivities of. It's all of our holidays equally. But yet when it's their holiday, whether that's Haitian Flag Day, whether that's the Nigerian New Year, whether that's Carnival, whether that's whatever it is, oh, that's them. That's their holiday. They get to celebrate it however they want to celebrate it. We shouldn't be trying to crowbar ourselves or tether ourselves into their holiday. That's disrespectful to their culture. That's disrespectful to their lineage. That's disrespectful to their history. And it's always this one-sided thing where black Americans continue to be exploited. And this happened a couple years ago. A lot of people a couple years ago didn't even like the colors that were being used for Juneteenth. They were using the what they call that, the red, black, and green colors, the Pan African colors. That's not a cultural thing, even though a lot of black Americans really did put that flag on the map. Let's be honest. We're the ones who made that flag a big deal, if we're going to tell the truth about it. But when it comes to our culture and our ethnicity, that flag doesn't represent our ethnicity. It represents ideology of Pan-Africanism. Even though we put that flag on the map, the flag doesn't identify our ethnicity, not like the Black American Heritage flag or the FBA flag or anything like that. All right. You guys are, there's a lot of people in here. It's a lot of people in here. If y'all want to say something, y'all can. Before we do that, let me let BX, you get to go ahead. I know you probably want to say something because this is in New York too.
Thank you, Afro. First, I will set the decorum for the panel. When you come up, immediately go on mute until Afro Elite, directs you to speak. Please use TikTok friendly language. And things may get a little heated. Try to keep it at one mic. I'll try to do the same because, I'll come off my mic quick. I will only interrupt if I hear misinformation. And yes, I'm sensitive about New York and the erasure going on. So not only on the panel, but in the chat, please use TikTok friendly language. You cannot spell out some of the words that you cannot say in the chat. If there is a mistake in a slip, immediately comment with fruit emoji. So let's have a great discussion because this is very important. This is also, I feel like this is, we're going through like a triple erasure here. And we're also going up for things like reparations. And we see the sabotage of it all. We have had Latinos come and say that no, we shouldn't be given reparations. We've had Latinos come and try to appropriate what reparations mean to include all marginalized groups. We have who I believe are Haitian because of the last name says it shouldn't go by lineage, but by, I guess, residency. But Juneteenth is special even to us in New York because we did have Southern grannies. Now, there's a disconnect. And it seems like the Caribbean is trying to feed into it. I wondered if there was an agenda going on Afro, right? Because we had the Nigerian lady, I say banging on the South and how our Southern sisters dress. And I immediately spotted her as not being one of us. I said, she sounds young, she sounds tetherish, and she sounds as if she didn't grow up around Southern Granny. Sure enough, after seeing some of the comments, they informed me that she was actually Nigerian and not foundational Black American. Now with the Caribbean, they have all these things specifically for them. They have nightclubs for them. They have the parades for them. Um, they even have restaurants that they're infusing our cuisine in after telling us for so long it was slave food. So New York it's like a weird space. I always thought that, well, dang. Am I the only FBA in New York? What's going on here? Am I the only one who's noticing certain things? But sure enough, Brooke comes to my attention because of the New York reparations meeting, stage, and then being on TikTok. I'm meeting people like Rap DNA, Shabu, Dr. No Job. Like all of us are from New York, and we are actively combating the erasure that that's going on here. This is very disrespectful, and what the Caribbean is doing, the media is behind it too, Afro. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say it's an agenda at play. They are leading to our erasure. So here's an example, and maybe it's still up on TikTok. So News 12 had a post of a Juneteenth event, and they were spotlighting a Caribbean woman who expressed how it was for her to migrate here and how hard she had it. And they had a vending table up, and the chat was going up like, how dare you? Where's the Black American influence? And I was saying that, well, dang, we can't just keep commenting here. Where's the petitions? That's my favorite line. Where's the petitions? Um, and then during Black History Month, They didn't showcase a black class, let alone a black American class, because nowadays sometimes you don't know if it's us or them. But they had a class that's visibly Hispanic, Latino. And I don't even know what it was, what the presentations were. I had to I guess he'll come back, y'all. I had to check the calendar. That's not a statue, and we got that statue out of here, okay, honey? They replaced it with a black family. So about stop crying. I just asked y'all to remain respectful in the chat, and I take certain things as disrespect. We aren't crying. We what we are doing are setting cultural boundaries. So we have the hip hop thing and stuff too. But thankfully, this has come to our attention, and if I'm not mistaken, American freedmen have written the sponsors of certain events, even in New York. So this here is being addressed, but they're being willfully, I'm going to say, ignorant. I believe they're being disrespectful, maybe for a viral moment. They're telling FBA, well, this is Brooklyn. Y'all got Harlem. Like I really have a branch of ancestors who were born in New York, Columbia, New York, in 1750. My New York ancestors were enslaved by the Dutch, and also they predate the country. Get it? Because anything before 1776 is predate. We were in America then. So they're being disrespectful. We allowed them into our spaces, but all the time they've been undermining us, and this is a big disrespect because we don't go. We may attend the West Indian Day Parade. We do not wave our flags. We patron the vendors. We try to show as much respect as possible. But hey, it's New York, so some may clash. I gotta say that. Puerto Ricans have a parade, and we respectfully show up if we decide to. I've never been to a Dominican Day Parade, but they have that too. So it's like we give people respect and we respect their cultural boundaries, but they're not doing that with us. When we say this is FBA culture, they say no, this is street culture. When we say this is FBA culture, they say no, this is just New York City culture. So I'm gonna land after this.
Mm-hmm.
New York City culture is seeing a woman going up a train stairs and grabbing it to help her up the stairs. New York City culture is walking fast and maybe throwing up your hand to say hi, but not stopping because you got somewhere to go. And a tourist is around if they're moving too slow for you. FBA culture is hip hop, vernacular, food, those things. We implemented family reunions. Remember, after emancipation, when we were looking for our ancestors, we created Memorial Day. We even created Labor Day, the same holiday that the West Indians, and it was a Trini, because I researched it, who went over there and asked for the parade on that day. So we're just tired, especially in New York. But my thing here, Afro, is that I want to thank you who have been non-biased. I want to thank other influencers who may address the situation from a non-biased view, meaning they're not feeding into industry politics of the rap world, right? Because there's a lot of times that the East Coast, West Coast beef came into play, but now what they're not talking about is the South versus the North. And Pimp C speaks out on that about some of the things that he went through. And it's Pimp C from Texas, I think, within the industry. So when they see certain videos, they're attributing that to the whole of New York. But I didn't know what was going on. I was just a fan. All I wanted to hear was good music. I didn't care if it was West, East, North, or South, as long as it was hip hop. So we have creators who contribute to our oration. There's one who I had to unfollow because he said, "Ain't no New York FBA. It's all overrun, and that's why this, that's why that." So I was read the comments. I saw that there were New York FBA on the panel saying, "Hey, we still here." He keeps going. So I started telling him the situation, and I gave him pushback on his numbers. I said, we slightly out margin, we slightly have a larger margin than them, but they have the media behind it. Because why aren't they showcasing FBA vendors and events and stuff? But they're going immediately to the Hispanics and the Caribbean. That's
Mm-hmm.
an agenda to me. So I'm gonna land it there. We show respect to other cultures. in their boundaries, but we're not getting the same in return. But now we're demanding for some respect on our name, and they're giving us pushback for that, either a viral moment or because they're really just being willfully ignorant. They know there's a difference, or they wouldn't have went to the UN asking for reparations and didn't put us on their claim. So they can't tell me they don't see no difference between us, Afro. They see it when it counts. But then,
That's true. That's true. I want to get to some of the other speakers, and I appreciate everybody for being here. Y'all very active in the chat room. If you agree or disagree, even if you disagree, you can come up and we can discuss it respectfully. Though we can discuss it. But let me get you. I can't really see. Your name is
Chrissy.
Chrissy. Chrissy.
Yeah, I think this is kind of crazy as a as a descendant of some of Texas stock, right? Where we've celebrated Juneteenth for, oh my God, since I was a kid. We have land in Texas. We go back, there, and we celebrate, our emancipation in the state of Texas and what that means for us. I actually blame this on them damn Democrats in 2020 kneeling with their dashikis on and making this a national holiday to begin with, because you got to gatekeep sometimes. Even when they made it a national holiday for all Black people, it was a little bit strange for me, just because it really has to do with Black people who are descended from Texas.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slap in the face, because I kind of agree with BX. We don't really kind of go in their spaces and try to take over their spaces and their culture and their history. We allow them to, participate, and sometimes we go, but it's to uplift their communities and to acknowledge their culture. And it just shows to me that a lot of Caribbeans, which I actually do have some Caribbean heritage myself, they have a disregard for Black Americans. They don't care. And a lot of the times when they come to this country, they come and they push white tea supremacy ideas and motives. So, sometimes you got to gatekeep. That's why you can't invite everybody to the cookout. So this is, I can't believe Hakeem Jeffries. I'm going to write him a strong worded letter, because he knows damn well this is a and it is only Texas. 'Cause I see somebody saying only Texas. Yes, it has literally to do with enslaved people in Texas that were emancipated after everybody else. And it was their liberation day. So it is specifically for Black descendants of Texas slaves. That's what it's for. It's not for everybody.
let me say this, right? And this is not to diminish Texas in any type of way, but as somebody who's passionate about all ancestors, I would like everybody to check their state for when their state ratified the 13th Amendment, because Texas was the last in the South, but the North, New Jersey, was emancipated after Texas in 1866. They freed the last of their enslaved, and we will never know their names because I looked for them. So in the North, it's not recognized. Nobody really has admitted it. But if you can research it. It's a fact. In New Jersey, the last of our enslaved was emancipated in 1866 after 1865. So you see how the government did us on the whole, and then they suppress our history. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to. I also want to add on before we move on to the thing. Now, I do have family from Texas on my father's side. And I think that part probably can be a discussion. But let me jump on to the point where you said it became a national holiday. Other groups of people don't necessarily want their cultural holidays to become national holidays. You said which part? Which part? Have you heard of Temple, Texas? Temple, that's the part my family's from. Or at least,
Okay, yeah, my family's from Marshall.
oh, that's good. That's good. Marsh, I've been there. But like for instance, you don't necessarily have other groups of people wanting their holidays to become national holidays because they want it to become exclusive to their culture. One of the things when it comes to culture is culture has to be exclusive. When everybody who's outside of the culture gets to come in and participate as equals in the culture, it dilutes and it really erases the culture. In order for our culture to remain strong and potent, it has to be maintained and gatekept to the lineage of the people who that culture belongs to. Even if people come, like for instance, BX, you just said we did, and Chrissy, you just said we did, right? We'll come in and we'll go to a Caribbean restaurant and get some jerk chicken, and we'll go over here and we might listen to a song or two over there, or eat some of their cultural foods here or there, just to show support. But we're not trying to intrude on them. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be disrespectful to their culture. So that is true. Let me get to law abiding citizen. Law abiding citizen, you can unmute yourself. Okay, well, if he's not ready, we'll get to Miss Wright.
Did you just say
Oh
something to
yeah,
me?
yeah. I just said you. Yeah. What's
Oh,
on your?
I do apologize. I was talking to my daughter. Hey, so on the topic, I would say that I'm from Texas, Houston, as a matter of fact. I've grown up. We've been celebrating Juneteenth my entire life, and eating barbecues at Emancipation Park and the whole nine. So as a matter of fact, that's where the first Juneteenth celebration was held, is at Emancipation Park in Houston, albeit it was the Emancipation Proclamation documents was read at the port of Galveston, but the I guess the most densely populated area of where we were was in and around Houston, and because there were sugar plantations and things of that sort. So anyway, I digress. But I think that our effort uh, and our anger is misplaced when we're talking about placing against the black immigrants that come to America. And the reason I say that is because they don't have any power, right? And so they are granted access to power, but they don't have any power inherent of themselves. So that would beg the question, okay, so who is granting them access to power?
Okay.
And that's the question we need to ask ourselves, and that is where our attention should be focused, because there's no limit to the amount of immigrants that can be, or black immigrants that can be brought into this country. Because one, we don't work for the State Department by and large, which is in charge of immigration. The State Department brings them here, and then not only does it bring them here, they also educate them before they release them into the population, or assimilate them before they release them into the population. We don't write the assimilation criteria; they do. So the first thing they get about America is written by someone that's not us. And so it's no wonder, the ones that come here think the way they do. So what I'm saying is, I think it's a waste of energy and resources for us to focus on them and focus on those who educate them, those who grant them access to power, who wrote that sign, who sat on that committee, who chaired that committee that put that event together. Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves, and that's where our attention and effort need to be directed if it's to be profitable.
Okay. Well, I hear that, and I don't disagree, but let me add on to that. I will say that our energy does not need to be solely focused on them or immigrants in general. But when I hear that argument, what happens is a lot of times we dismiss the willing participation of immigrants, whether they're from the Caribbean, whether they're from Africa, or just immigrants in general. When I hear the argument of, well, it's the government allowing them, or it's another force allowing them to do that and promoting them and elevating them, it's almost we're dismissing their agency in participation of the erasure of our culture. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is that they should know, just like we know, they should know that the Juneteenth is not their holiday. Just like we know Haitian Flag Day is not our holiday. You know, we know that with the Puerto Rican Day Parade, we know that that's not our holiday. We know that. You know, we don't have to be told to be respectful when we go to other people's traditional holidays and events and stuff. So the fact that they're not having the same amount of respect is on them. You know, and we are going to have a conversation with them and how they respect our culture. You know, I'm not saying that now. Of course, these people up here, they do orchestrate, and we can't ignore or dismiss the fact that these problems are orchestrated to be like this. But we also have to have the duality to say, okay, we got to put attention on the orchestrators, and we also do have to put attention on the immigrants who are willing to do that, who are voluntarily doing this thing,
The reason I
which they
disagree,
should know better. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Afro Elite, the reason I disagree with you wholeheartedly on that is because, we are highly emotional people. And so, you can, if you can talk a good game, you can rally us up, rally up our emotions to, and have us to gather around and do something or say something. However, strategy is best worked when void of emotion and just looking at the facts. And being that as a people, by and large, I'm talking about individuals, but as a people, we're kind of late to the game because of the systemic barriers that we've had to overcome and are still overcoming. I just have to say that strategically speaking, see, there's no end to the immigrant. And so, but on the flip side of that coin, the immigrant doesn't truly have power. Can they offend us? Yeah, but a child can offend you. But I'm not going to go toe to toe with a child because that child is beneath me. I understand that my level of development is higher than the level of development of that child, and I'm not. I'm just not. I'm going to avoid that, and I'm going to go to up to the child's parent. And that's what I'm talking about in this scenario. The parent is who brings them here, who educates them, and who grants them access to power. And that is where our efforts need to be directed, if it's to be profitable. Because an immigrant group is just a variable. They can they can
Let me ask you.
uplift one
Let me ask
today
you.
and
Can we not do both?
uplift
Do
another
you
one
not think
tomorrow.
we can do both?
I don't think we can right now collectively as a group. I don't think we can do both successfully. No, I think that we had to. I think that we need to, because it's too easy for someone with the gift of gab like Mr. Rashid, Tariq Nasheed, and that can focus solely on one effort. And it sounds good, and it's entertaining, but what it ultimately works to do is to take our energies and efforts, which are limited, and cast them at something that is frivolous versus going after the root of an issue. So that's just the fruit of something. That's the end result of something. But the root of the issue, where the power descends from, is where we need to spend our energies and our effort and our
Well,
resources.
Can
okay.
I say
I'm gonna say
something?
something that, but other people want to say. I'm gonna say something real quick because I want to be fair and I let other people speak. I'm gonna say that I don't think that that's what we're doing, and I think oftentimes, and I'm not even gonna say you're doing this right here, but we have this conversation oftentimes, and what this is a straw man argument. We're not saying that all of the blame should be on the immigrants. We're not saying the people who orchestrate this issue when it comes to immigration and when it comes to events like this don't deserve any blame at all. For you to say, well, we need to be pointing attention to this, you're deflecting from the part that these people who are doing this, these are not, like you said, children and stuff, but these are not children. It would be different if we were talking about children. We are talking about grown adults who know better. Because if we were to go to their country, they wouldn't allow this. They wouldn't allow, if I was to go to the Caribbean and I was to talk about their Caribbean holiday and I would say, you know what, I'm gonna remix it for Black America. They wouldn't allow that. So they know what they're doing. These are adults who know what they're doing. We can get on the people who orchestrate it. However, they can only orchestrate it if other people are complying, if other people are participating. So there does need to be room for people to have that duality and address the issue. Because if you don't address the full issue, you're not going to solve the problem. So you got to address both sides of it. Now I'm gonna say that, and I'm gonna let some other people speak because I want to respect everybody's time. But I want you to stay on so you can address what people have to say about your comment. Let me get BX. I'm gonna let you go, and then we'll have Chrissy go, and then I'll get to some of the other speakers. And I
Right.
appreciate y'all patience. Thank you.
Right. I'll try to keep it short because I do tend to get long-winded. So when you say that they don't have power, we have treated them as another marginalized group and gave them certain things that we would want extended to us. One of those things is to vote them into our office. But I want to go to history. When New York was segregated, there was a color coded system, and Black Americans could not move into certain homes, or it would be deemed to bring the property level down. Conveniently, the Caribbean were able to buy those homes. Okay, but we know who was fighting for civil rights, equality, things of that nature. So we understand that the system allowed them to purchase the homes. But here's what they did once they were able to get a hand up. They didn't reach back for us, right? What they did was they locked us out of the housing market and had, which was coined West Indian cartels. I call it the West Indian cartels of real estate, and this is documented on peer-reviewed articles. There are, and what you would look into is why is there a difference between Afro-Caribbean home ownership and Black American home ownership. So while I get what you're saying, they didn't create the system. They are complicit in upholding the system that oppresses us due to their actions. And that's the same thing we say of white tea people who have their ancestors created the system, but they're complicit in upholding it. And they have never said nothing to me that a racist white tea man hasn't. And so for that, I think the goal or the end goal should be to boycott them, their businesses, and stop voting them into our government. And we wouldn't have these type of discussions. We have to remember us first because we've extended ourselves enough and our land.
All right. Let's get to Chrissy real quick, and then we can kind of, because I want to respect everybody's time. I don't, I know people got things they want to do, and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Because there's been people on the panel who haven't spoken yet, and I want to be fair to them. So let's get to Chrissy. I know you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, I do agree with BX. And I think what law is not acknowledging is that when these immigrants come over here, they know exactly the history of America and they know the history of Black Americans' experience here. And because they would like to align with white tea supremacy, they push those same talking points and they push those narratives into our community. When they move into our community, they don't come in to be cooperative in those communities. They come in to form their own communities, right? And so the idea that we should share something that is essentially to our experience with other groups of people who would, if they could, undermine us is so insane to me. And if you don't think that
So let me say
Caribbeans,
something.
if you don't
Hold
think
on, let
these
me say something.
Caribbeans,
Wait, one moment. I'm
I
a
never,
mod. I'm a mod.
I
Law.
never said that.
She
I
let
never
you.
said
She
that.
let you speak. She let you speak. You could
I,
go after her if the host allows. But she did let you speak, and
all
she
right,
was very
well,
respectful.
I know, but
Hold on,
this?
because
Can I say
there's
this as
yeah, well, he can
respectful?
go ahead.
if
He
it
can go ahead.
becomes the thing where people are interjecting and cutting people off, then everybody's not going to be able to speak.
Right, but let me say this respectfully because I like her frame of thinking and how she delivers what it is delivers what it is she's trying to say. But I don't want her to waste time on something that I didn't argue in the affirmative. Meaning, I didn't argue in the affirmative what she's saying as far as they should be allowed to do anything. The only thing that I said was that our defense and because when you're in a political contest or a contest of any regard, you're expending resources, time, energy, money, resources. And those resources are limited. And so strategically, you want to make sure that the resources that you're spending are going in the right direction. The
Oh,
only thing
okay.
I said is rather than that is that it should go
All
to the
right.
root of the issue rather than the fruit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's hard to do that when you, and this is an issue, right? It's hard to do that when you have the group of people that you're discussing that are aligning themselves to undermine your community. They are working wholeheartedly to undermine our community. Now, if they were respectful, I'm with the host, if they were respectful of Black culture, if they respected it, they would not do something like this and celebrate something like this. It has nothing to do with them and their experience. Our experiences are not the same. And they come here knowing the Black American experience. They come here. When they come here, they know it. They don't care because they want to align themselves with white supremacy. Nobody can not convince me of that. I've seen it. I've seen it in play. I've worked with them, and I can tell you how they work. They will try to undermine the hell out of you because they want to be the token person of color or minority. They
Okay.
don't have the same experiences as you, and they will
My,
never understand your experience, and they will not acknowledge the fact that the reason why they are here and that they can be successful is because of you.
mhm.
And that's the
Oh,
even bigger thing that's a slap in the face.
Now,
I'm not arguing that.
before you go, let's get to Miss Wright. She's been waiting for a minute, and then Malik, he's been waiting for a little bit. So let's let them get a chance to say what's on their mind.
Thank you. So I wanted to kind of touch on a bunch of things because a lot has been said. Um, I genuinely believe, as a person who is of Caribbean descent that lives in New York, um, I genuinely believe something like Juneteenth, which is local to Texas, and I've known about Juneteenth practically my whole life, even though I live in New York. Understanding the story of it, I feel like that is a tradition that is tied to a location that has its practice and should be in Texas. I think that each state should have to do the work to be able to document and understand and tell their story of when emancipation reached their space, as in, this is what happened on this date. Those relevant dates should be tied to the people who come from those spaces, right? So in New York, there's a detachment from the Juneteenth because it's something that became a nationalized holiday, like you were saying. As a person that's Caribbean, I don't really understand it. It's not, I think this is more politically driven than it is culturally driven because, my father's side of the family is Jamaican and there's emancipation in Jamaica. Like, I know that date. If I choose to celebrate it, I'll celebrate it. Every person of Haitian descent, no matter where they are in the world, they're going to celebrate New Year's Day because that is their independence and emancipation when they won their war for freedom. So I don't really see why this is a thing that's being pushed in New York in particular. I do understand New York is a melting pot. And I wanted to mention about the parades. I do know that there are tons of parades in New York. There's there's Irish people have a parade, Dominican people have a parade, Puerto Rican people have a parade, there's a Mexican parade. There is an African American Day parade in September that happens. It's been happening for like decades. And so every culture in New York does have their celebration. The Italians have something, the Asian people have something, like everyone has their thing. And New York wouldn't be New York as far as a melting pot, quote, quote, if they didn't have that representation. Um, I would say that as far as the undermining, I want to wrap it up and let the other person speak really quickly. But I think I do understand that there has been a lot of things that have happened that you're saying in being complicit with it. But the thing that happens as oversight is that the corporation of America, not maybe the American people, but the company of America will go into other countries and destabilize them and make those spaces unlivable to where people will come to the United States to be able to survive, to live, and then they will turn around and use those same immigrants as cheaper labor, and it's an undercut. But essentially, they may not have left if the American corporation didn't burn their house down for the literal price of bananas. And this is something that is historical, and it happens every couple of years, and they'll do what they need to do to keep their market price because it is about the economy. And so I do understand the experience, and I wish that the conversation could be had in a space where me as a person who's Caribbean, I had to stand in the space in a big company like the company named after a rainforest, quote quote, who wanted to celebrate Juneteenth not for what it was, but just have the day off and then have fried chicken and watermelon flavored juice for lunch. And I was like, we're not going to do that. What we'll do is that we'll have Black owned businesses come in and cater for the whole month, and we'll make a point to do this and do this and do this. I think what happened with Juneteenth is that everyone looked at it as an opportunity to get a day off, and then they're pushing it in those terms. So I don't know if that helped the conversation or not, but that's just the stance of a Caribbean person.
Okay, all right. So, and I hear you, and
Absolutely
I do
true.
want to get to the other speaker. Let me just say, let me just ask. You said your father's side is Jamaican. Is your mother's side also Jamaican too, or?
My mother's side's from Belize, Central America.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And you were born and raised in New York, or you
Yeah,
immigrated?
I'm a born and raised New Yorker.
Okay, okay. Then. So yeah. Well, I will say, as far as the conversation about America destabilizing other countries and them, immigrating here for cheaper labor, I think that is a conversation worth having, definitely. But I don't want to conflate that conversation with this conversation, because then we can get to a lot of different things that needs its own conversation.
Absolutely agree. I think the reason why I mentioned it was to speak to the intentionality of it. Like, essentially, I think that the way that it comes across is that people came here with the intention to do so rather than out of necessity for the survival of their families. And I think that's where it got flipped. And that's the reason why I bring that up. But I completely agree. Juneteenth should be for Texas, and every state should have their own version.
Hey,
Okay. And
Afro Elite. If I think what she's saying. I'm not trying to co-sign for her. She's a grown woman, but my expertise is in geopolitics, and she's 100% correct. And what she's saying is, what I think she's saying is that they're connected. The symptoms, or the fruit, the issues that we're facing here with the black immigrants that's coming here, at least those that are coming from, you
mhm.
know, places where they have the same phenotype as us, is because of this issue that she's saying, that she's trying to highlight here. They're connected.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we'll say, and I think we do need to have a conversation about Juneteenth, because I've heard this before about Juneteenth being a Texas holiday. And now, mind you, my father's side of the family is from Texas, so it's not like I'm doing it because I want to be involved. But the the argument that people make when it comes to Juneteenth being a Texas holiday or Juneteenth being an ethnic holiday, I would like to add this for a lot of people in the chat room, for a lot of people listening, and plus I'm going to put this on YouTube so people are going to hear this. When slavery was abolished, and I'm putting that in air quote, when slavery was abolished, it was supposed to be abolished nationwide. Texas was the last nation to formally, really, abolish it. That's where the Juneteenth came about, right? I've heard somebody make this argument, and I will listen to people who may have a different position from this, but I heard people make the argument that the news, it did reach Texas, but it wasn't about Texas. It was about the lineage in general, and it was about the freeing of the lineage in general in its totality. It wasn't necessarily about the freeing of Texas slaves. It was about the freeing of slaves in general, the lineage in general. So therefore, it would make it more of an ethnic holiday than a state holiday. And I think that I think in most cases it would probably lean more towards, and it probably is more of a state thing than everywhere, but I think it is even more so a lineage holiday than it is a state holiday, because Texas was not the only slave state, and it was about the freeing of the lineage, not just the freeing of that particular state.
What
So I
if
would lean more
oh, go ahead.
towards it being a holiday about our ethnicity than a holiday particularly about the state.
What if the compromise on it is celebrating emancipation, the day that
Hold on, hold
emancipation.
on, hold on. You're Caribbean. Hold on, hold on. One moment. I'm going to say this. 1 minute, Jazzy. 1 minute, Jazzy. Miss Wright, you don't get to talk about a compromise. You're Caribbean. I'm
Well,
also from New York, and I believe that she said that started. She always knew about June. Well, she knew about Juneteenth around the time it became a holiday, or before. So
no,
I just
I
want to
knew about it
say,
my whole life. I knew about it my whole
okay,
life.
cool, 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 cool.
Yeah.
Go on mute, please. So there's a big misconception that a lot of people have found out about Juneteenth when it became a holiday. However, we have been celebrating Juneteenth for centuries, right? Because after emancipation, Texas started first, and then it spread out. Now in the North, I received it later than most. But what I did, I didn't create an event by it. I did what I had to do in my home. What do we do when we venerate our ancestors? Food, music, You know what I'm saying? That type of thing there. So we were always celebrating it. And I, too, as a New Yorker, did not want the holiday. We never asked for the holiday. We asked for an anti-hate crime bill, right? So the holiday to me was performative, maybe symbolism. Like, here, we're giving you something. But we all know what would happen when they had would make it a holiday. The large white T corporations would benefit from it, but I never figured how the Caribbeans would appropriate it the way it does. So now they're being spotlighted. And when you say bring Black businesses to it, will they be Black American owned? Because Caribbeans and Africans and all of them too have since co-opted that movement. When we said support Black businesses, we meant ours. You understand? But conveniently, we've been locked out of that too. So we have to emphasize the American to a lot of things that we do. But I just want to tell the chat that just because people are just finding out about it. I see people saying we don't care about Juneteenth because we're Caribbean, this and that. Black Americans have always celebrated certain things that the representatives take and then want to make a holiday. And the only people that really benefit are large corporations and these people here holding events and appropriating everything that we built or what it was for us and our ancestors. It's pretty exhausting and tiring, especially in New York City. They don't realize the erasure. And when you bring up the way they snaked us and wasn't in allyship with us, that's just a few. That's not the whole. Well, they were the ones in power, and it's still affecting us today. So there's an issue there, everyone, especially FBA. Start voting them out, please, and start divesting from their businesses as well. Because why are we going to continue to pay people to disrespect us? I'm not doing it no more, and I won't.
Afro Elite, if I could speak, I'd be grateful.
Hold on. I would
Afro, it may be time to
I was
rotate
waiting
the
to go
panel.
after Malik.
let
It's directly in response to BX.
It's time to rotate the panel.
Okay, if he says so.
Malik, are you there? I hear sounds coming from. I don't know if you are you here. It's your chance to speak right now.
Nephew, are you there? Malik, he might be having connection issues.
Okay, yeah, you might be
Afro.
hitting him with a little circle.
Yeah.
Let's get to Jazzy.
Malik, I'm gonna mute you while
Okay.
Jazzy goes.
Okay, so first of all, we have been celebrating Juneteenth for years. I'm here representing the Carolinas, North Carolina, and South Carolina has been celebrating Juneteenth for years. Before it became an official holiday, I think that how it ended up becoming an official holiday is because so many states were celebrating it. That's what put it on the map. It's because everybody was celebrating Juneteenth with parades, with cookouts, with everything. It wasn't a federal holiday, so we didn't get time off, but we got off of work and went to the cookout. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to the 704. I lived in Charlotte. I lived all up and through there. So I know for a fact Charlotte been putting on for Juneteenth. And I live in Charleston, South Carolina now, and we definitely put on for Juneteenth. So Juneteenth, the date was based off of Texas. Okay. But overall, it has been celebrating the emancipation of Black American slaves. Black American USA 13 original colony slaves. Okay. Now, a thing about New York history and why Juneteenth is just as important to New York as everybody else is because New York had slavery. They were just emancipated in the 1700s. New York, slavery actually funded New York. Brooklyn, Brooklyn was actually one of the largest slave trading cities that rivaled some southern cities. Okay, and then they also were important to that history because they were an important and pivotal stop on the Underground Railroad. So that's where New York connects. Because I've seen a lot of people talking about, oh, people migrated from the South. No, FBAs have always been in New York. They have always been there. New York was built off of them. Okay, at one point, 40% of New York's population was enslaved. Okay. And then they had the free society that was on the side, and then that society began to grow. Okay. So Brooklyn was actually one of the last cities of the Union to stop their having slaves. They held on to their slaves till most of them let them go late 1700s. They held on to theirs like early 1801 or something like that. So that history, slavery is a big part of New York as well. Okay, even when you go into what they did to Seneca Village and how they wiped them out to take over Central Park. Okay, so Juneteenth is an important holiday for them. For New Jersey, New Jersey had slavery. Boston, Massachusetts had slavery. Philadelphia, PA had slavery. All of these places had slavery. So that's why it is a national holiday. And it should never be. I don't know what this Caribbean Juneteenth heritage business is about. Y'all have days to celebrate your heritage. We do not go take over Jamaican Independence Day or Haitian Flag Day. Y'all just had Haitians just had a flag day. Didn't nobody sit up here talking about some dang Black Americans this and that. We literally leave y'all stuff alone, but it seems like y'all can't never leave our stuff alone. And then when we say something about it, it's like folks get to gaslighting us and act like we being some ungrateful meanies or something. And it's like, no, this to me, especially being a Southern woman, right? Being a Southern Florida Black Seminole Geechee woman. It is rude to come into somebody's house and think you're gonna rearrange their furniture. That's their house. You don't come up in nobody's house and tell them where you gonna put their couch at. You don't come in nobody's house and tell them how they supposed to be doing what they doing in their house. It's not your house. And you don't nobody can show me where Black Americans go to other people's countries and do them like this. Nobody can show me that. And then it's just bad manners. It's not even something that this is basic home training that this stuff is not okay to do. We shouldn't even be having this conversation right now because wouldn't a nobody with no sense, no Black American, especially from the South with sense, would have ever done nothing like this. We come and we show up to celebrate y'all holidays with you. We come up and we show up to push you forward and to elevate you. I go to the carnival and that we have in Charleston, and all the Jamaicans, Haitians, Trinis, they be out there, and everybody be waving their flag and rooting for them. We don't come to their holidays and root for ourselves. We come to our holidays and we celebrate them being here, which is what you are supposed to do. We don't do that. So I don't understand why we can't get the same thing in return. It's crazy. I land.
Right. Thank you. And also, BX disrespectful. I ain't get disrespectful yet, law abiding citizen.
You guys can hear
Okay.
me?
And Noah, well, one moment, nephew. Also, if you are Caribbean, African, and you have lived here all your life, you don't get to tell us about a compromise. You don't get to put your input on that. Because pretty much y'all been having y'all saying y'all compromise all this time. We're setting the cultural boundaries now,
Let
and
me
we're
ask.
doing it legally too.
Let
Can
me.
I
So
can I respond?
he doesn't have to. He's law abiding. Just don't at me in the
Hold on.
comments. Don't
Before he goes.
mention me. Me and you will not be speaking anymore. I said what I said. I meant it.
Well, I hope the
There
truth
won't be
though.
no compromise.
Before we
It
go,
won't be no
because
compromise.
Can
African Debunked said something in the chat room, and I want him to speak. But before he gets to speak, I want um, Malik to speak. Malik hasn't been able to speak, right?
Yeah. Wait, you can hear me, all right?
Who's that? That's Malik
Yeah,
or
that's
African?
yeah, that's Malik. Yeah.
Okay, Malik. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that with the mic. Yeah. So I just want to get my info on this Juneteenth thing. That the flyer I see on here is very disrespectful to foundational Black Americans who have roots all throughout North America. It's very disrespectful, even to my folks who come from Texas, especially my grandfather on my dad's side, who comes from Texarkana, Texas, which is in East Texas, who told me about Juneteenth when I was very little, when I was in the sixth grade. And I also got roots in Louisiana too, on my dad's side. And what's also disrespectful is having the wrong colors on there. The colors are supposed to be red, white, and blue. It's not supposed to be other colors from other parts of the diaspora. It's not supposed to be no African colors, no Caribbean colors, or no Latin American colors. It's supposed to be the American colors. And then at the same time, we should just straight up gatekeep. I don't think nobody should be invited into our Juneteenth holidays. It's supposed to be only strictly for FBAs, only for the lineage only. And plus, the one thing they also should not ignore too, there was also slavery going on the West Coast too. Even a lot of people don't talk about the slavery that was holding in the Bay Area and even in also Los Angeles, my hometown too, happening in the 1800s too. We didn't even get free until like let's say 1830, just a few years before even when Texas like got freed at 1865. At the same time, I think nobody should not be allowed to be in our Juneteenth holiday unless they have to respect it. But at the end of the day, it's strictly only for FBAs.
Okay. It is our holiday. Let me say this because I do want to get to something else. When it comes to, and I want this to be known because this was a conversation that we had a couple years ago when Juneteenth was, coming around. When people say it's now, I want you to keep this in mind. I'm saying this as somebody whose family does go to Texas. I don't believe that it should be just about Texas because it is a lineage holiday. And what happens is it not being when people say, well, every state should celebrate their own version of Juneteenth. When people say stuff like that, that is going along with really the erasure. Because as FBA, as Foundational Black Americans, there are a lot of things that culturally we put on the map that we don't get celebrated for. For an example, we just had Memorial Day. We started Memorial Day. Memorial Day is really, if we're going to be honest about it, really our holiday that we started. Yet it's not celebrated like an ethnic holiday. I want you to understand this. All of these other groups of people have their own ethnic holidays where everybody in the ethnicity gets to celebrate their ethnic holiday. And it comes to when it's our ethnic holiday, people want to break it up and make it a state holiday instead of an ethnic holiday. So even saying things like, and I'm Miss Wright, you're not the only one to say this, but even saying things like it should be every state should celebrate their own version of Juneteenth, that's diluting it from being an ethnic holiday and more of a state holiday. And this is something that happens in our history in this country all of the time, where our ethnic holidays have to be diluted or shared, or somebody else has to receive credit for it. No, it's time for us to embrace our ethnic holiday as an ethnic holiday, not a state holiday, an ethnic holiday, and a cultural holiday. All
Right, but
right.
she's Caribbean.
Very
Why would she
interesting.
even
Juneteenth flag
have
up.
I'm saying this.
one
I'm
minute,
saying this
y'all.
because I'm saying
Why
this
would she
because
even feel so
she's
emboldened to have an opinion on that? She's Caribbean. It ain't what
yes.
she says.
Exactly.
First,
I
yeah,
put the
this is the thing,
Juneteenth
and I'm
flag up.
only I'm only acknowledging this is because this is not the first time I've heard somebody make that argument. I've heard people make the argument before that it should be. I think Chrissy, if she's still in the chat room, I think she kind of alluded to it should be about Texas. I've heard people, especially people from Texas, say it should be relegated to Texas, and I don't agree with that. Okay, it's a culture. It's not a cultural necessarily because it wasn't a cultural thing. It was a slavery thing, but it is an ethnic. It's about our history in this country. So it's a ethnic holiday about our unique history and lineage. All right.
So I wanted to respond to say when what I was saying previously was having the celebration of emancipation, because in Jamaica they celebrate emancipation when emancipation was declared. But because there are people who are in Texas that understand that there have been long-standing traditions that are held on that date, that for other people who are just now understanding this, it didn't understand what it was until it became a national holiday, allowing the people in Texas, since it happened there, it was the culmination of what happened there for that day, and allowing emancipation to be the national holiday. So that's what I mean when I say that. And then also when state by state, also understanding where those places, where these things happen in each state. So for New York to understand where were slaves sold, and like there's so many people who don't know where the African burial ground is in New York City. There's a lot of since it's just this big blanketed holiday, there's no personal connection to for a lot of people, and not necessarily personal, but where you are. So that's what I mean when I say state by state, but more so let Texas have their Juneteenth because it was something that they've celebrated for a very long time. Or if you have Texas culture or Texan roots, you celebrate it as you do, just like a Haitian would celebrate New Year's Day, no matter where they are in the world. But for the entire country, which is foundational Black Americans, have it for Emancipation Day. As a Caribbean person, I'm not hosting a Juneteenth party. That's not the day of my family's emancipation. So I'm saying that it's not something that I personally think should happen and have the hyphenage because culturally speaking, everyone else has Independence Days. So just to clarify what my
Now,
position
when you say
is.
Independence Day, when you say what do you're not talking about the 4th of July, or are you?
No, no,
What are you
no.
talking about?
As far as so like Haitian people celebrate Independence Day, their independence and emancipation on New Year's Day. Jamaican people have emancipation in June. So I'm saying emancipation for like when the Emancipation Proclamation came through, when the day that it was declared, and for those people who were freed on that day or the subsequent days after, have a maybe a national holiday for that, and then allow, since Texas has had a history of celebrating that day in particular, and they have this the connection to that location, allow Texas to retain that holiday. So that's what I'm saying when I say compromise, that it is something that's celebrated everywhere, but for the Texan culture, they still be able to have the day that they've been celebrating. And then also have it so that it's ownership for each location. So the experience in Juneteenth.
Hold on, let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
So when I'm saying regionally, where slavery took place, or the like she was saying, the ports in New York and the slave trade that happened in New York, if you're in New York and you're talking about Juneteenth and you're talking about what happened in Texas, there's it creates the opportunity for the ignorance that they don't think that anything happened in New York. There's people don't know where the African burial ground is in New York. People don't know about the township, the old black neighborhood in Brooklyn that were occupied by slaves. Like there's a disconnection from it because it's not something that's being localized. It's Juneteenth, Texas, not New York history. And that's the reason why I'm saying it in that context.
I mean, but that's not
It's
technically
not.
true.
Doesn't
Hold on,
understand,
hold
one
on,
minute,
hold
Kiki.
on, hold on,
She
y'all.
doesn't understand Great Migration and our roots, how we are connected to the South and have visited the South.
No, but
And
BX is a
It's
lot
just
of
amazing to me.
hold on. Also, as, the thing is that this is just how we going about it. It is an ethnic holiday. This isn't to this. The argument that you're making is that it kind of like dilutes the individual states' history when it comes to slavery, and that's not necessarily the case. Even if you want to make the argument that states should do more to, I guess, highlight the history of their holiday, that's one thing. But to say leave Texas alone because they've been celebrating we have all been celebrating it. Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, we've all been celebrating Juneteenth because it's a holiday about our lineage in the history of our people in general. It's a holiday about the freedom of our people in general. Because we don't look at it like, okay, Mississippi is free and Texas isn't free. We look at it as if our people are either free or they're not free. Juneteenth marked the day that our people were free. So that's how we look at it as foundational Black Americans. It's not like this state is free, this state's not free. We look at it as, was our people free on this day? No. Were they free on this day? Yes. So this is the day we celebrate.
right. So it's a lot of misinformation. First of all, them Union soldiers, you know, they were black, right? Miss Right. You know that those Union soldiers that marched to Galveston, Texas in 1865, they came from every single state, every 50 states in the United States, black Union soldiers to free and announce that the freed slaves in Galveston, Texas were free. So every black individual in every 50 states in the United States have a right to celebrate it, because guess what? All of them black Union soldiers, guess what? They came from every single state. And I know exactly what I'm talking about, because one of the first states that actually started celebrating Juneteenth alongside Galveston, Texas was right here in Arkansas, Southeast Arkansas, Wilmer, Arkansas. So to say that, it should only be applied to Texas is not right, because there were Union soldiers that were black. They came from every single state, just like what Afro Elite, the host, said. Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas. Some came from New York, to celebrate. From the north, some people come from California. So I hate misinformation like that, because some of y'all don't even know what you're talking about. Especially, somebody that's Caribbean. And I don't even know why you even have a say so, or let's say feel obligated to even speak about something that you don't know what you're talking about. Don't do that, because that's not right.
At the end of the day, I'm saying this to clear up information because this has been a thing that's been happening for years. But ultimately, your parents are not from here. Oh, and I'm not saying that that's your fault. I'm not saying that that's wrong or nothing like that. But they're not. This is how we celebrate it. So people can like it or dislike it, but this is how we're going to continue to celebrate it. We are going to acknowledge it as an ethnic holiday the same way everyone else acknowledges their holiday as an ethnic holiday, and would not allow your Jamaican family would not allow us to go in there and say, well, y'all Jamaican holiday, I think y'all should do it like this. They would not tolerate that conversation. They would not entertain anybody from outside of their lineage and their culture coming in and talking about how we feel like they should celebrate their ethnic holiday. No one in the world, not even just Jamaica, no one in the world would entertain that conversation. So this is not a conversation that we're really not going to entertain. And that's respectful. We're respectfully going to not entertain that conversation, because this is the way it should be done. I'm letting you know this is an educational moment to let you know this is the way it should be done. And most of the people who have an issue with it are not even a part of the lineage. Now, with that being said, I do want to say, and I think that this has been respectful. I haven't been disrespectful or anything like that. I think this is an educational moment here, though. But let me get to Africa Debunked, because you said something in the chat room, so I sent you the request. So you said something about Libya. What were you talking
Liberia.
about?
Yeah, but can I address a few things, if that's all right, bro?
Tell
What
us the country that you come from. We know you're
Me?
African, but what
Yeah,
country?
I'm mixed West African descent. Of
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Were you from the
But,
UK?
no, I was just educated there. I'm currently out in Dubai now.
Okay.
But in regards to a few things I wanted to touch on, I think it was very interesting when it's not really my place to tell you guys what to say, but I think it was interesting that the brother said that the only colors that should be celebrated at Juneteenth are the blue, white, and red. When Juneteenth is a celebration of the emancipation from the blue, white, and red.
Yeah, red,
From
white, and blue.
blue, what,
The
blue,
flag
white,
up,
red,
sir.
white, and blue.
Hold on,
But
hold on, hold on, hold
can you let
on.
me
I
finish,
have
please?
the
Go
flag
ahead.
up.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it was under the institution that flew the red, white, and blue that that was subjugating and enslaving black Americans. So I just think that was interesting, and I think
The flag was created by an African
sister, please,
American by
sister,
the name of
sister,
Gracie.
Flag
sister,
is
please. No,
right
it was
here.
no, it wasn't. It was
Yeah,
sewn
yeah,
by
yes,
a
it
black
No,
was.
the
American.
The
flag
flag
is
was
on
Okay,
Please,
created
my
so
by.
let's
screen.
go
host,
I'll
host,
pull
I
it
need
up.
we're not
host.
going
Please,
to
can you manage your live a bit, please? So because they keep talking over me.
Okay.
Um, I think.
Well,
Secondly, I think.
before you continue, Africa, where are your family directly from? You said you
I
were
said,
educated in the UK, but where are your family
yeah,
from?
West African. So I've got mixed
West
Liberian and
Africa?
Nigerian. Yeah,
Nigeria.
Liberian and Nigerian descent. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right. So as I was saying, in regards to in regards to the second thing I wanted to say, I wanted to just like the poster to me. Sometimes it feels like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because oftentimes what you hear is that as people saying you don't integrate with us, you don't identify with us, you don't celebrate with us, and then because for me the poster doesn't really it's just saying celebrating Juneteenth, which isn't that what other black people, especially black immigrants in America who are trying to who are trying to respect and immerse themselves in the dominant black culture in the USA, surely you want to celebrate Juneteenth and the milestones that Black Americans have achieved. All it's saying is, and it's always I always hear on especially on social media, take responsibility for your communities, speak within your communities, and organize within your communities. So clearly, this is Caribbean people,
Why don't you
independent.
hold on, because you're being disingenuous. Read the rest of it.
It
Don't
says
you just read
celebrating
the first two
Juneteenth,
words? Notice
Caribbean.
y'all. Notice he just read the first two words and then get to what are we doing wrong?
Bro, you
Read
ain't,
the
you ain't let me
other two
finish, bro.
words then.
All right, yeah.
Read the
It
other
says
two words.
celebrating Juneteenth, Caribbean heritage.
Okay, now see what is the Caribbean heritage of Juneteenth?
I would
You
say
see
to you that
see
one.
the
I would
little
say,
deceitful thing
bro,
he
bro, you
tried to
got,
do right there? Do you see
bro,
that?
you. If you let me finish my sentence, you
Okay,
might
go
agree
ahead.
with
Go
me that
ahead. Go
yes.
ahead.
But for me, it just reads celebrating Juneteenth, people of Caribbean heritage. That's how it reads to me.
No, that's not
No,
what it talks
it's
about.
a FBA holiday,
It's,
dude.
This is you're being disingenuous.
I,
Okay.
I,
No.
well, I think,
What?
I
Let
think.
me ask you. Let me ask you. Hold on, everybody. What is the Caribbean heritage of Juneteenth? How is the Caribbean heritage tied to Juneteenth at all?
Could I
It's,
answer
it's
that?
No,
well,
hold
no,
on.
no,
Go Africa. Go ahead.
Juneteenth isn't about Caribbean people. Juneteenth is about the emancipation.
Okay. So
Yeah.
why is Juneteenth of the Caribbean heritage being highlighted whatsoever when it comes to Juneteenth? How is that?
Once again, if you let me finish my point, what we always hear is that like people in their own communities should organize and do things in their own communities and speak to their own communities. For me, like people of Caribbean heritage celebrating Juneteenth is perfectly reasonable, and I think maybe I think people are projecting like a level of sinister motivations behind this. There's nowhere in the poster where they try and hijack the Juneteenth narrative and
Yeah,
make
can I
it.
can I respond to that
Just
first of all?
please. I need you because you didn't do this to the person who was speaking before me. Could you just let me finish
Mm-hmm.
making my point, please?
Yeah, hurry it
Um,
up.
what is this? Like, grow up. As I was saying, in regards to, and also I was going to say this. One of the brothers who was speaking before said that like Black Americans wherever they've gone, they've always gone and respected the dominant culture. And I'd say no. I've got family from Liberia. That's definitely not true. That's definitely not true. Black Americans definitely didn't integrate and respect the culture when they went to Liberia. So like,
What
yeah,
did you respect?
Okay,
huh?
great. Host, can you put me on a big screen really
Hold
quick?
on. Hold on. Hold on.
1 minute.
Let me ask you
Afro
something.
Elite, let me say this to you, Afro
Because
Elite. Some of these
it's a
people.
lot of misinformation going on. I'm sorry, BX, but I just want to make this known. Jassy
Mhm.
Reload, she's showing the 30 stripe flag. And first of all, you literally said that the red, white, and blue flag was not created by African Americans. You can literally put me on big screen right now. And by
Okay,
Black
but
Americans.
It
we're gonna
literally
give
Yeah,
you
wasn't
no,
decided by
one,
Black
one,
Americans.
one
All
second,
right.
right? Because the whole point is that we have a right to that flag as well, because it was created by a freed African American woman by the name of Gracie Weiser. So for a non-Black American African American to try to come up here and try to, let's say, be overly opinionated about shit you don't understand, and clearly by the host backdrop, it says celebrating Juneteenth Caribbean heritage. Why would you put Juneteenth and Caribbean heritage in the same sentence? That is very disrespectful. And clearly you're not getting that, sweetheart.
now. Let
Once
me
again,
All
ask
right.
you. Hold
can I
on.
just
Hold on.
respond to like
Actually,
the?
1 minute. Hold on. I'm the
All right.
mod. I'm the head mod, and I need to speak to the host. So actually, the reason why you see us kind of calling out or speaking to Africa debunked in such a manner is we're familiar with him and the way that he thinks, and so
Yeah.
I just
I'm
wanted
not
you to
familiar
kind
with
of
you,
know that.
BX.
We hold on,
I'm not
hold
familiar
on.
with
I ain't
you.
finished.
Stop, dude.
I ain't finished. So dang it. So anyway, we are familiar with him, the way he speaks, his tactics and stuff, and so that's why we kind of come off of our mic. But I want to remind everybody to kind of stay on their mics and let them kind of land, because even I want to, drop them. But Afro, so that's why we're giving pushback to
Yeah.
Africa to bump, because we pretty much
Once,
know where he's going with it before he goes with it. And you don't have to be familiar with me, but everybody else is. See how that works?
Here's
if
Africa.
you're
The
familiar
people
with
who
Okay,
me,
that's
count,
a good point.
I'm
the
not familiar.
people who
I'm not
count,
familiar with you.
Hold
the
on.
people who
Hold
count
on.
are familiar with me, Africa Devon.
Yeah, you.
So it's a
You've
bit
been on
strange.
Right,
my
because I don't mod for
In
Pan
regard,
Africans. I mod
here's the
for
thing.
FBA. And this is the
You've
FBA
been on
platform.
my lives, African debug. You've been on my lives several times, okay?
yeah, but I've been on
And
hundreds of lives.
every time you have, BX has been here as the mod.
Yeah,
So
but
don't lie. Now here's the
my
thing.
Afro Elite, I
You
don't.
said
Once
here's
again, I've been on hundreds of lives.
hold on. I'll let you go.
All right, go ahead.
So now I'm gonna say what I have to say. You said that there's nothing wrong with participating. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. That's not true. And coming from your ethnicity, if we were to go to your homeland, okay, I want you to keep this in mind. This is our homeland. Okay, it's not y'all's, it's ours. So if we were to go to your homeland in Nigeria and we were to say the Nigerian Independence Day, we want to celebrate our history in your Independence
You
Day.
did, bro. You did.
No,
That's what happened. You did. You did go to my homeland. You did go to
quiet
like.
and let me speak, dude. You see how, dude,
You
be
did. You
quiet.
did go to.
Be quiet, dude. Stop. Because we don't do that. There's not even enough Black Americans who go to Nigeria to live in Nigeria to even make that be a big thing anyway. That's not something that Nigerians have to worry about. Us going to their homeland and saying y'all holiday, we're going to remix and damn near colonize y'all holiday and make it our thing. This is really colonization, if we're going to be honest. This is really colonization. And this is something that we've been dealing with when it comes to our history here, that other immigrants have come here and done. We don't go around and doing that to other people's holidays, if we're going to be honest with you. And the fact that you're sitting up
You're being
here,
obtuse right now.
now, no, you need
I'm from, and you completely ignored it.
where you said you're from Nigeria.
No, I didn't. You didn't listen.
You didn't say you were from Nigeria.
No, I didn't. I told you.
Nigeria,
Now,
like
literally, and Black Americans did come to my country and did and did all the things
yes,
you're
we
talking about.
know.
Oh no no
And
no no
We
no no
so
know.
no
did
no
the
no no
Bro,
no
Caribbeans.
no no.
don't be
Here's the
obtuse
thing.
and misunderstand the things I'm telling you.
Here's the thing. And that narrative, and that's why I brought you up, because you said something about Liberia. Go ahead and say what you have to say, because I'm going to debunk that real quick.
Don't
That's
interrupt
why I
them.
brought you up.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna
what?
go on
Yes,
mute too.
the American Colonization Society and the American Liberians that came over here. They didn't come over. They didn't come over to West Africa and to Liberia to immigrate. In fact, they enslaved, they oppressed, and they unalived loads and loads of the indigenous population. They didn't come and integrate. And if you look at like Liberian history, like most of our first presidents were Americo-Liberian, my bro. Like this idea that Americans, wherever they, Black
Duh,
Americans,
no
wherever they.
shit.
Please stop interrupting me. Have some self-control. Like this idea that Black Americans, wherever they've gone in the world, they've integrated and they've respected the dominant culture is just factually incorrect. It's factually
Okay, so
incorrect with history.
here's what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna
And,
put
and
that.
and it's very interesting, host, that you completely ignored what I said.
No, I'm gonna acknowledge it because I thought you said Nigeria, not Liberia. That's what I thought. That's what I heard. But let me acknowledge the fact that you said Liberia. If we're going to understand the actual history of Liberia, Liberia was already colonized prior to Black Americans integrating to Liberia. That's the truth. It's either true or not true. They were already colonized. They were already dominated. They were already enslaved. Liberia was
Colonized
not
by
no,
who?
dude. If you don't
By
stop,
who?
Liberia was not no free country. Y'all making it seem like okay.
And
I'm
I'm
gonna
asking
kick
you
you
who?
off. I'm gonna
Who
kick you off.
colonized Liberia then?
Can you be quiet? Like, why do you
The
always do that?
Europeans had already colonized Liberia. There was a whole bunch of Liberians. Y'all look up the history yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Look up the history yourself. Liberia was already colonized prior. That there were a small percentage of Black Americans after slavery that went to the, and it wasn't even called Liberia at the time, that went to the land that became Liberia. There was a revolution done, and then the Black Americans, they became the leaders in the government of Liberia. These people are trying to use this, and they're telling the story out of context, and they're trying to use this. If I'm incorrect, you can come up. You can come up, as that is the history. They're trying to tell the story out of context to say uh, we're no better than you guys. Y'all can't talk about us because y'all do the same thing. We don't do the same thing. And then, even if you did want to bring up one single country, Liberia, something that happened several years ago, way before he was born and I was born, something that happened several years ago, that doesn't justify what's happening right here today.
Afro Elite, may I say this too? They always say that America did this, America did that, but they don't say that the Caribbean went into Liberia too. So that may not
That's true. That's
necessarily
very
be for
true.
him, but the ones who kind of crowbar their way into our spaces, talk about they're from Liberia and they know this, or they have our last names. The Caribbean has our last names too. And nobody had came up here, you know, nobody, you familiar with him, to address something that Africa Debunk said, and Kiki would like to say something about what Africa Debunk said. But this is the things that he sort of does, and then he does that whole trying to talk over us. Um, Type of thing. But if y'all are going to talk about Liberia, talk about the Caribbean's part in it too, okay? Because they went there too. And if you're trying to use that to crowbar your way into anything we got going on, you got to prove your lineage. You got to prove that you descend from U.S. chattel slavery and not the Caribbean chattel slavery or the Caribbean period. Because we ain't going for this no more. Y'all are doing too much.
Right, and it seems
I
like he wants
land.
to be purposely dense. In 1822, the American Colonization Society purchased land in Liberia. So the host is absolutely right. There were white tea people that were already over there. You fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but I don't know why y'all do that. It is weird. White tea people were already over there. That's exactly why the ACS sent freed black people in the United States over there. Clearly, like, what are you not getting it? And like I said, it's a distraction. I don't even know why you even brought up Liberia. We are speaking about Black American history and why we find it very offensive that it says celebrating Juneteenth Caribbean heritage. And the majority of those people are not Caribbean. I hate that y'all do that to have a claim to our shit. Stop it. No, you don't. Y'all need to stop. Every single time we have our own ethnic holidays, you guys always want to say have a claim to our stuff. No, you don't. Sorry.
Yeah, not only that, and I'm gonna let other because there's a lot of other people want to speak. Not only that, they always try to tell the story out of the context of the fact that Liberia, like you just said and I just said, was already colonized. Europeans already ran Liberia. That's why they were able to sell. They were already colonized. Okay, so it's not like black people went over there and they became the oppressors over there. You're not telling the story in its context, and they're doing it deliberately. They do it deliberately so they can give themselves a pass for the colonization of our cultural history that they do here. So instead of acknowledging, because notice how he started with, well, all I see is celebrating Juneteenth. I said, okay, well, read the other two words. And when he can't really stand on that, now he tries to move the conversation to, oh, well, y'all did the same thing in Liberia. Y'all did the same thing in Liberia. And that's not true either.
Salute to the panel. Salute Afro. Yeah, I just want to follow up with Kiki, and I'm
Nobody.
gonna drop it real fast. Yeah, it's like Kiki and what you said, Afro. The situation that happened in Liberia was extremely complex. I wanted to ask Africa Debunk, who founded the American association that went over there to set up Liberia, and also what happened in the preceding aspects of setting up the corporate heads or the organization of who ran that organization. It wasn't Black Americans. And even then, to the point, Black Americans trying to assimilate to the culture didn't happen, because what happened afterwards? The Liberian Civil War, the first one. So again, we've seen that there's been conflicts of us going to any other land and dealing with cultural kind of I'd say strain, but largely we are not the colonizers that Africa was trying to implement. And due to answer your question, it was YT Americans that bought land in Liberia. They did not colonize it. So you trying to do this really weird conflation of saying Black Americans colonized Liberia. No, dude, like Afro said, you're not looking at it in the complex way that it is. You just want to play the blame game when it comes to reviewing what your country has done since it's been founded. I'll land my plan.
Yep. Let's move. Who
Thank you,
hasn't spoken?
nothing.
BX. Who hasn't spoken yet? I want to be fair to everybody.
Cookie Ski and 1985.
Okay. Cookie, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say was it's like they're trying to make us like tribal. Like they're trying to put states against each other, which that's something that we don't do. With the whole the New York girl talking about the South and New York, that was tribal to me. And now this, like we usually don't have these kind of issues. This stuff is new. So it's like they just trying to come up with all these different techniques to put us against each other. And I hope people can realize what's going on here. And we got to stay on top of this because we are one. We are a unit. That was all I got to say.
That's true. This man is sitting up there talking about Chicago got tribal issues, LA got tribal issues. He's trolling at this point, and that's what I was saying too. When I was talking about the situation before with Juneteenth, I said Mississippi didn't look at slavery as my state is free. Arkansas didn't look at it as my state is free. South Carolina didn't look at it. Virginia didn't look at it like that. We all looked at it like either our people are free totally or our people are not free. That's how we looked at it. We weren't individualizing which states were free or not like that and being all like, okay, well, I'm from this state, so we're going to act like this state is our sub-ethnicity. We don't do stuff like that.
Right. And we have to stay like that. We cannot let these people come in and make us tribal or break us up. We are a unit. We are one. And we have to stay like that. We fighting. This is a serious war we in.
Right, and then plus this is the ethno side too.
Yes, and it's a spiritual war. It's physical war. And this is serious. We have to stay grounded. We have to stay on these tethers' necks. I'm serious. We are one. And nobody is free. We all ain't free. We all celebrate together. It's the United States. We are not separated and we are not going to separate. We got to get these. I voted for Trump and I'm trying to get these tethers up out of here. They got to go. I'm sorry.
Him back up, debunked Africa, because why? This is my issue with him, because I don't like that man. He tries to, let's say, educate Black Americans, African Americans about our own ethnic group when you're a whole Black Brit in a different continent. You literally live in the UK, nor did you even stay in Liberia. So what are you even trying to preach to us? Are you mad? However, there are some truth in what you're saying. There were some Black Americans that did go to Liberia in 1822 and had a white team mindset. But you're forgetting the whole history about Liberia, right? It's still weird. When you're talking about resources when it comes to Liberia, Liberia supported a lot of movements when it comes to Black Americans, Africans globally. So it's just kind of weird that you're even trying to do that. Like, I really don't understand him. Hopefully he stops interrupting people once he gets the opportunity to come back on a live. But this live is not about Liberia. It's not about Liberia. It's not about Sierra Leone. It's not about any of those African countries that was established by Black Americans. Because guess what? We're not going over there in 2025 doing that. Y'all are coming over here to the United States, feeling like y'all can engage in a conversation about our own shit. You understand how disrespectful that is? We don't do that to y'all.
No.
We don't do
And
If I
that to
don't,
y'all at all.
if
And
I'm
then you
able
know what?
to,
Also disrespectful. He always bringing that tribalism, talking bad about our cities instead of talking about we got tribalism wars. But let's talk about the tribalism they got in their homeland. They got so much tribalism going on in Africa and these other countries that we don't even do that in our respective cities. We don't do that in Chicago. We don't do that in LA. We don't even do that even in Atlanta. And then this dude don't even know the whole story about our ethnic groups and our subgroups, but he always want to keep bringing up Bloods and Crips. I seen Bloods and Crips get together and unite in peace treaties. Even when we got together, when the Bloods and Crips even united in 1992 during the LA riots, when Rodney King got beat up by the LAPD, who united? Bloods and Crips.
Can I also add and say really quickly that to Africa Debunked, there is a list that you can look up on Google which talks about the cities that have the highest rate of homicides, and every single one of them are in Africa. Literally, South Africa is number
one.
one.
Yeah.
Lagos, I think it's Lagos, Nigeria is like number
Yeah.
two. They're literally all in Africa, and it gives you every city in the world.
Yeah.
So no, Chicago is nowhere near what y'all got going on over there, and that is a fact. So
Mhm.
please stop sitting up here lying. You're not even in America at all. You are a Liberian that with a UK accent that lives in Dubai. You need to chill out, bro. You need to chill out. And you talking about FBA fear of being African. Everybody's talking about the tribalism. Tribalism is literally what led to our ancestors being enslaved. So that's why we don't do tribalism in America. We became one people and we're going to stay as one people. And another reason why y'all don't know we have sub ethnic groups like Gullah Geechee, Louisiana Creoles, Chicago Mississippians, Texans, et cetera, is because y'all don't see us warring like we're tribes.
And if I can add that one of my biggest concerns with the Caribbean and the Africans, which I usually have no issue, but I've been as of late having more and more concern because for years, and all of you all who have grown up in New York or grown up in any major city have heard Caribbeans and African alike say that Black Americans had no culture. For years, they have said that. And we have no culture. We don't do things the way that real ethnic, cultural Black people anywhere else in the world do them. Like we're scattered when it comes to our heritage and culture, whatever. They've said that for years and years and years. And then when we started gatekeeping our shit, it became a problem. It was, oh, but we won. Because I'm going to say for years, you never heard Caribbean people call themselves Black. That was forbidden for them to even say I'm Black. It was, they always made a distinction between us and them. It was, if they said they were Black, it was always, well, I'm Jamaican and then, you know, Black, but I'm gonna always be Jamaican, or I'm Trinidadian, or they always made it um come to light that their country of origin came first. It was, they always wanted to make a distinction. And so when we started to gatekeep what we have here and started to say to them, listen, you talking shit while you here in our land, who comes to somebody's house and talks shit about the host? Put some respect on us. And when we started to say that, oh, well, what y'all want respect for? You don't do nothing here. And I started to make it clear to them, listen, you come here because you can't get the rights we have here in your own land. And who do you think got you these rights? You don't think that the YTs provided you with all of these civil rights and all of these ways to be successful? You don't, I hope you don't think that they provided that for you, because they would rather you not be here, quite frankly. You need to know about A. Philip Randolph, um his civil rights movements for worker unions and such. You need to know about the civil rights and Black power movements. That is why you come here, to get successful. But you get all of that due to our protests and our fights and our bloodshed, but you talk ish about us while you're enjoying all of these things that our fights provided you. Who does that?
You might want to either bring him on a panel or just mute him, because you're saying, I find it weird that on every single live you advocate for Black Americans, African Americans, and tell our history, but in the comments you're acting very ignorant. First of all, you're bringing up crimes that are in heavily underfunded communities. Obviously, you're deemed bad. If you are in an underfunded community, there is going to be crime. I hope you know that. In my little town of Little Rock, Arkansas, the crime rate is higher than Chicago, Illinois. The only reason that you're even bringing up Chicago is that you're repeating what white tea racists are saying, and you're in the comments literally, clearly repeating yourself multiple times about why this woman voted for Trump. But you're doing the exact same thing. You're repeating white tea, supremacy talking points. So what are you even talking about? Just like in Africa, right? They are some of these people are poor. Obviously, if you are in poor conditions, don't have, let's say, um access to resources, there's going to be crime. So I don't even know what you're talking about. First of all, and you keep on bringing up Bloods and Crips. Hopefully,
Kiki,
wait one
he's doing
second.
this on
No,
purpose. Let's ignore him.
I understand that, but we need to correct misinformation because there's over 100 people in this live that's going to pick up the stuff that he's saying. You're talking about these quote unquote gangs that were created to protect our community.
Right,
Y'all need to stop doing that.
and plus he
These
doesn't know
quote
the
unquote gangs were
right.
created to protect our community from white tea people unaliving us. But obviously, you're not going to understand that. You're from the UK. Your people even benefit from the Black Panther Party, you idiot. Your
What
people
is
still
his fight though?
benefit from the
How does
Civil
he
Rights
even have a
Act. What are
fight
you
if he's
talking
in the
about?
UK? Like anything that's happening
Right.
here has nothing to do with him. So why is
He's
he
in
fighting
Dubai,
so hard?
y'all. He's
Yeah,
in
he's ignorant.
Dubai.
He doesn't know the backstory of how the organizations got started.
What
Just
is
like he
his
just
fight though? Why is he in the UK trying to fight a fight here? What is his life there have to do with what's happening here?
Because he's a runner and a track star. That's why we call them African booty scratchers.
Baby
Because they do
everywhere but
shit
home.
that make our ass itch. At the end of the day, they don't care to know. They know, but they don't care to
So
know.
he's just an
They
attention
don't want
seeker.
to know. They
He's
want to
just an
Home.
center
attention seeker.
themselves. That's all they do. Just like he came up being disrespectful, leaving out the Caribbean part of the prompt. He came up flipping the damn colors of the flag. At the end of the day, they don't want to know, and it's not our job to teach them. Our job is to get their asses on up out of here, get them on the next plane, train, automobile, and get their asses on up out of here. They do nothing. They don't benefit us in any shape, way, form, or fashion. They come in, they really want a destiny swap with us. They really want to
They
be
do.
us. And that is the main thing. While they sitting up here telling us what we need to do, how we need to handle certain things, they can't
Who
even
has
do
all the
shit in their
background?
own homeland.
So why are they
Host.
Okay,
here?
one
Like
minute,
if
one
we're
minute, one
that
minute,
bad,
one
why are
minute,
they here?
y'all. Right. 1 minute. Somebody has a lot of noise in their background. I also kind of want to redirectly address his misinformation. And I want to kind of get back to the topic because I believe he's an agent of chaos. He came to divert what we have going on. The focus is Caribbean Juneteenth and how it's being appropriated. Uh, yeah. Let's get back on track,
Let me
y'all.
yeah, let me address this. Okay. This is the type of stuff that we get from other people who don't want us. Now, I want to address this, and then I want to use this. There was a brother here, law abiding citizen, and he was saying why we should not pay attention to the disrespectful immigrants. We should pay attention to the people who run the system. This is exactly what I was saying. I was saying that these immigrants who are coming over here know they might not have the power to run the system and to operate the system. But these people are 100% complicit with what's going on. They participate in the colonization of our history, the colonization of our culture. They participate in YT supremacy. Okay, to the degree that they can, to every degree that they can. They work as a buffer class. And this isn't to say, and I know there's going to be the all police. This isn't to say every single last one of them, but enough of them to be an issue and enough of them to be an issue that needs to be addressed. You see the rhetoric that he's spewing now? Now he's going to go to another panel and he's going to talk about Black Unity and Black Unity book. The second you make him mad, you see how he really thinks. This is why when I was talking to law abiding citizen, I was saying, no, we can't skip over the immigrants who are willingly participating in the system. We're not going to say, okay, well, who's in charge of the system? Let's ignore the people who participate in it. This is why we have to address the tethers. We have to address the people who want to come. Now, I mean, you're not even in America. I don't even know if that would even fit you. You're just a fleer. You're not even a tether. You're just a fleer. You know, because you claim you're not in America. But this is why we have to address that. So everybody's all like, "Oh, y'all can't beat up on the immigrants. Y'all be too hard on the immigrants and all of this stuff." You see what we have to deal with. And all of this in a conversation, he says, "I'm not a fleer. I have a passport." Okay, you kind of just proved my point. All of this over a conversation of our holiday. We're getting disrespected for gatekeeping our holiday. I just want you guys to understand that. Let's let that soak in.